Welcome to Dark Horse Paranormal Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carr.
And I'm Kristen Johnson.
Hey, how you doing, Kristen Johnson?
I'm
used to being over here. It's weird.
I hear an echo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's
When I
cool.
talk. Not really.
Yeah, I don't know what to do about that. I don't hear it on this side, but I'm sorry. You know, you
okay.
just have to be here next time. Then we can echo together.
Yes, well, I will say. Yeah, I will be Saturday, so.
Absolutely, you will be.
So
right now,
what's been going on?
I've got somebody filling in for you. You can't really see him here, but
you too.
There. Yeah, my cat's there. He'll probably pop up at some point.
The coworker.
That is coworker. That is what I call him, because I actually work in this room a lot remotely, and he sits in your chair while I work.
Something's running. I know.
I don't know what you mean, babe.
Background on top of it. Welcome.
I think it might be your internet, because you're starting to hang a little bit and freeze up. Anyways, yes, cats are more like supervisors, says Sarah, and you're correct. He is my little kind of boss. my boss on the side. His name is Kingsley Kingston, the 443rd, recognized in the counties of Bristol and Providence. But he may pop up for a visit. And speaking of working remotely, I have not been able to do so much this week. I've been going to work, and one of the things that really aggravates me is tolls. Because I got to pay a toll to get to work. And why we have tolls on like highways and bridges is freaking beyond me. It's like, it's a toll. Like, why does that even exist? I don't know. I'm not crossing the river Styx to meet, Sharon, in the boat, going over. No, I'm just trying to go from point A to point B. And if I don't pay the toll, then I get a bill, and I get the bill and I don't pay it, it goes up. And that's really frustrating. And these are the things that I think frustrate people with government. Goddamn tolls. Hello, everybody out there. I see Brenda, Anne-Marie Young. Hello, Joanne Stewart. How are you guys? I do hear this kind of weird echo thing going on back there.
It's us. It's really weird. Of course it is.
Yeah, it's always something. Always something.
Always something. It's the little things that kill you. I know. It's always something.
True that. No, I definitely hear like something talking. Do you have like a web page up or something that's speaking? I hear something speaking.
It's bizarre.
It's bizarre. We're getting alien transmissions, I think.
Oh my God. It's like saying what we just said. It's really bizarre. Whoa.
Oh yeah, but it's like way delayed. It's not like a couple of seconds. It's like 5 minutes ago. It's like a time machine. Wow.
Do you guys hear that?
I imagine they do. I'm gonna guess yes on that.
Sounds fine to them. Anne-Marie. Hello, Anne-Marie, my beautiful sister.
Rabbit.
Rabbit. That's right.
That's right. And the first of the month, right? Anne-Marie says rabbit, and makes a wish. And I like that. Anyways, we have a great show for you. Enough banter about our echo that only we are hearing. We'll move on to some paranormal. How's that sound? Oh, actually, I do got one more thing before we bring on our amazing.
Oh yes,
yes, this is really cool. Let me get back here. Today in the mail, you might remember, you guys that follow the show a couple weeks ago, we had Katie and Katie Stafford on, Supernatural Inc., who showed this box, and it arrived today. They built this spirit box for us. This is a Nanocom 2, and it looks like we might have lost Kristen. So I'll let her rejoin, and that probably will fix that echo problem. But this is really, really cool. I think this is the first one that was made of the two. There are only two of these out there in existence because they're kind of custom. Greg Koss, who comes on the show a lot, he has the other one. So maybe we'll play with this a little later after we've had a guest on, do a little session possibly. It is really neat. It lights up. It has like amazing, very cool custom features. And you can see there, it's got the horse and the DHP for Dark Horse Paranormal. So let me add my girl back here. Hey, how you doing? Did the echo go away? Can you hear us? Uh-oh. Yeah, the internet's not playing nice.
I can't hear.
Yep. Okay, it's on your side. Well, you work on that. You might have to drop and rejoin, Kristen. I'm going to bring our guest on. And he is...
Can't hear.
Let me... okay, babe. I don't know what to do. I'm going to pull you out. Can you rejoin? All right. I don't know what to do about that. All right. Our guest, of course, is James Annitto, a good friend of ours. James is a demonologist, an ordained deacon, a paranormal investigator, and a researcher of Duo Daemonologie with Carl Johnson, PPRI, Sanctuary Paranormal, that provides his services free of charge to assist homeowners, business owners, and other paranormal teams that require his background in negative hauntings. James also works with criminologist Laura Brand on the podcast True Evil. So I'm going to bring him right on, and hopefully Kristen will join us again. Hey, James.
Hey, how you doing, Chris?
Rough intro.
Hey.
I think Kristen's internet might have gone Ari on her, so we'll let her rejoin, and I'll bring her back in the stream. But okay, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. It's been a busy one, and definitely interesting. How about yourself, Chris?
I'm doing well. I know you've had your hands full, and I know this isn't a secret, but you have a baby on the way.
I do.
You do, and I wanted to ask you if Celine was at the point where she wants to kill you at this point and blame you for the insemination.
She always wants to kill me.
Have you told her that it might be aliens yet?
I told her it's not aliens, that she's the devil herself.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that helped a lot. Hey, Chris, I added you back in. Hopefully you can hear us now. You know, I'm not saying it was aliens, but you know, she blamed you. I thought I had a great excuse for you, but I think you've already run with that ball. Anyways, that's cool, man. What is new and what have you been up to?
Not much. Just been busy, you know, working and consulting on cases. We have Carl and I have a case coming up in New York for PPRI. You know, doing a bunch of shows.
I can't hear it. I'm lost.
Try unplugging your headset then. See if that helps, okay?
Getting things started with Laura Brand, criminologist and expert on toolbox killers, on this new adventure. True Evil coming up starting February 27th. So just been busy, you know, with family life, work. I'm in college for psychology. You know,
That's right. How's that going?
Good. Last semester I got honor roll. I excel when it comes to writing papers. I love research, and I love dabbling and understanding things. So it's fun to be back in school. It's like I have never taken a break.
That's cool. I think psychology is a wonderful thing to take if you're interested in the paranormal and this is like the kind of thing you do and this is your life, you know, you look at parapsychology, which is just a branch of psychology, and so much of it is psychological.
Of course, yeah. And parapsychology is a credentialed social science in both the United States of America and Canada. You know, PPRI, which is a nonprofit group in Canada and in Massachusetts, but it encompasses New England as well. You know, is run by 2 doctors in social sciences, and one being a doctor in psychology. So it is fascinating, but I think what's more fascinating, in fact, is that when you learn these things or start getting a little bit of a deeper understanding what we're capable of, it kind of detracts in the sense of there being something like spooky and I'm not saying that doesn't exist, but I'm saying there's a more of an ability to look at it in a different perspective, in a 180 or 360 perspective, because sometimes we go in there subjective. We're told information, we don't understand how it's possible, but it does. The brain makes it and plays it like synchronicity. You know, so we don't really understand synchronicity, but one thing we know about it is it probably does come from emotions, and that's how it influences how we look at things in our life, like a number, or like, okay, that person has a similar name. So, and these equate to the paranormal, because when people hear a bang, they just lost a loved one, they're gonna hope that bang was their loved one that's maybe coming back if they believed in it. You know, I think 44% of people in America believe in ghosts. So it's not ill to think that it's possible that people believe that bang or knock or something that they think is unexplainable but could be explained with deeper research is a ghost. But once again, I think these things exist, but I think the human element is the whole piece of the puzzle, but how it is still an unexplained answer.
Right. Well, synchronicity is completely fascinating, and you know, it occurs to everybody. You know, everybody also experiences, almost everybody, a certain amount of like telepathy when you know they know that their phone is going to ring, or it rings, or they get a call, a text, a buzzes. They know who it is before they look at it. Like I think most people have had that sensation, and you know, how else do you explain that other than some sort of telepathic means? You know, some sort of connection. Anyways, you know, and synchronicity, as Jung described it, is fascinating, and it's something else everybody seems to experience, right? But we don't have a great explanation for it.
But there are explanations. Carl, you got to remember Carl Jung. How long he's dead now? He's long on. But there's been many perspective changes on synchronicity. There's a great book called
I can't hear you guys at all. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes. But I was saying there's been many great new books that have approached synchronicity, like Synchronicity, that has come out after Jung, and it's fascinating how the approach is. You know, I can, but what also I can see is what I can see in it is also how people in like ancient Greece or ancient civilizations were fooled upon certain things and by the gullibility and imagination we have. So I could see it in that realm too, you know, but hey, to each their own. And I think that we all had paranormal experiences, like we've all had like synchronicity moments. And there's like so much still more to be explained about it. And that's what's fascinating. You know, like a demon. So many people say to me, a demon doesn't exist. But I've experienced it. I've experienced it with assessments, physician assessments, things that can't be determined. And of course, people say, oh, maybe they should have a second opinion, a third opinion, fourth opinion. Well, yeah, you can go those routes. Okay, the assessment, we had like 2 different opinions, 3 different opinions. So all those 3 people couldn't go to the DSM or any other of their manuals or theories and the perspectives and think it was something else, you know? So a lot of psychiatrists with there's a handful. I think there's 12 of them in the United States that work with the Catholic Church. But maybe they're biased, and people have great kind of debates on it of how, like, okay, maybe they're biased because they're Catholic and they take a form of psychiatry, which a lot of people don't understand. Theology, there's a branch called neurotheology, which is how the mind works with faith and like God. And so there's a lot of concepts out there that are just mind blowing.
Oh, I agree. What do you think of the shadow self and the emotional scarring that can come from touching into that?
Yeah, definitely. Shadow self, I think a lot of people take that and look at as like who you are in your inner self or your inner demon, right? Like how you can project a different reality. It's all fascinating stuff. It all really tangles in, like, when it comes to like people's theories, there are so many commonalities to so many other aspects. Even in evolution of the paranormal, evolution in psychology, there's been a weaving of similarity. But that person has like, oh, okay, what about that? And that other person, they all have that foundation of something. And shadow self is a very fascinating thing. And then, you could also say maybe the shadow self is some form of the projection of a shadow person. Like maybe it is us people like creating a psychokinetic or telepathic projection, or and it's like we're walking projectors, and we are in this environment, so our mind plays into that environment, we projected it, and we're all quite possibility, and we're all together of a shared hallucination. A shared hallucination is possible with opiates,
right,
any other kind of drugs. It is also an element of imagination or a song, like it is perceived in the show Evil, with little girls singing the song after they heard it on the internet. So these shared hallucination experiences are quite possible. So our shadow people, us projecting our consciousness, or like our shadow self to the environment, it can get crazy. Like if you really dig deep, like there's a whole other spectrum of the paranormal when they talk about artificial intelligence, not like in the sense of like a computer, but artificial intelligence in the sense you project something artificial, then it gains intelligence and reacts to the environment with its own consciousness and its own intelligence at that point, right? So that's even fascinating in that outlook.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry, I'm going to pause you because we're getting a lot of bleed through, and it's getting hard to make sense of what we're saying. I know there's a lot of echo going on. So one of you two has either Facebook up or something, and it's bleeding through the mic.
Maybe me.
Okay, can you turn it down a little bit because it's coming through the mic and creating a huge echo? Yeah, I can totally hear it. It's delayed. It's what I just said like a few seconds ago, and it's hard to hear us talking.
That's all I hear.
I know.
Is
I know
it better?
You're having headset issues, but it's killing it. Yeah, it's a lot better. I can't hear it now. So now it sounds good. I
okay, so
James.
what I do is I shut down all my pages.
Okay.
So, sorry guys, I shut down all the pages, so I'm not going to be able to do comments.
It's okay. It's better we get through the interview without the feedback or the echoes.
Better?
Yeah, you can talk
better?
into it. No, because now I can't hear you.
I don't know. I haven't said anything. So, how about you, James? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
We can hear you, but it's not as
really
good
loud?
as before. It's just you had Facebook up, I think, and it was loud.
Yeah, that's what it was
coming
on
through
YouTube.
It was coming
Sorry,
through
guys, about the comments.
I don't want to talk about it too much, but that's what was creating the echo. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
We're
Sorry,
talking
it's funny. Somebody said James sounds like a robot. Well, we're just talking about artificial intelligence. My name is James.
That's right. It is pretty good credence to like simulation theory and stuff. I had the most wackadoodle dream this week, where I was like in a different timeline, and it was like simultaneous timelines, and Kristen was in it with me too, and we were like superheroes. We were like saving children from aliens. And it was the most bizarre thing. but it freaked me out so much because when I woke up, I could like see this layering to this other timeline, and we were in a similar house, but I knew like the outside was different. And I said, Kristen, look outside the window. Is the backyard? How does the backyard look? Is it huge? Because if it's huge, we're screwed. That's how it was running in this like other timeline. It was sick. You know, I've had
that's the second time you've had that dream like that.
I had dreams where like I astral projected from within the dream and went into like a place where like things were sort of digitized, the environment. Like I remember flying down the street and all the edges were like, it was like a video game. Like there was a slight graphic thing happening in there. Then return, still within the dream, have more of the dream, and then wake up. And that made me think, man, simulation.
You know what that sounds like? I think if they ever make live action Wreck-It Ralph, there you go, Chris.
Oh, I love Wreck-It Ralph.
It's bizarre. It sounds crazy to talk about, but they were very lucid and very, very, very real, you know, and it come out of them.
You have to think though, we're doing like gateway program. We're doing like this. So it's like,
yeah, that's true. We're doing Hemi's gateway program.
Okay.
Like a CIA investigated this, and like they put people through it, you know, like because you can do it on their grounds through like training and stuff as well. And they teach you how to do these kind of crazy out of body experiences, and you walk away just thinking the world is holographic.
It really helps not helps because your dreams are wackadoodle, but I'm actually experiencing more than what I was. Like my senses are getting elevated, I guess, more heightened.
Nice.
If that makes sense.
I don't, to be honest, I don't recall my dreams. I probably do. They probably get locked in the short-term memory and then boop again.
And they're gone.
But
yeah.
Hey, no, it's fascinating. The times I have dreamed, like the nightmare that's prolific that I always talk about with that one demonic case in Western Mass, and like for me to have that experience, like I don't really dream, like, and that's the God's honest truth. Like when I was in the military, I got medically discharged for sleepwalking. Like.
You were dreaming.
I didn't dream. Like I wasn't having a dream. I don't remember. I just got woken up standing up. Like I don't remember anything that was being reenacted in my head or like in my dream state. So like it's fascinating to me. But like I think I dream in life, like in like an open perspective. Like I'm always dreaming. Like I'm a goal oriented person. Like Rita Pearson's. I don't know if you've ever heard of Rita Pearson. She's an educator. And she's like, instead of saying you're -18, you're +2. Like, so I've always tried to educate myself as dreaming, like set goals. Because a dream can become a goal, right? Or a dream could be like an imaginative way of what's going to occur because your body kind of knows this is my course. You might, by mind, not know that's what your course is, but of course you have a physical reaction of fight or flight, right? So sometimes your body just works in a forward motion. So like, and when it gets to the mind, it sometimes enables as a dream such as that, right? You're being a superhero. Well, you are superhero, guys. You're awesome people, right? Maybe you'll have a nice big yard. But
well, it made a difference as far as the timelines went.
Hey, who knows? Hey,
weird about that dream.
If it futuristic, right? Who knows?
The house layout was the same, so I woke in the bedroom and I'm like, wow, I'm in my bedroom, but it's the bedroom in both timelines.
It's pretty interesting.
I need a distinguishing factor. Yeah, it was very weird. I was just very aware that it was.
You got to tell me how to sign up for those classes you guys are doing. I would love to do something like that.
Oh yeah. Well, they're recordings, and I can just definitely hook you up in that arena.
Yeah.
You have to send me that. I love doing crazy stuff.
We know you. We know.
The stuff is really cool, and it's very also relaxing. I like this. I'm thinking about. I don't know if you do. Do you try any like guided meditations? You ever do those kind of things?
Dude, to be honest, like I said, my mind's sporadic. So like, I'm dreaming in real state right now. So like I'm thinking I'm on the show. Like I'm in the moment, but I'm also thinking what is next. And that's just how my mind works. So for me to meditate just has never been my thing. Like I can center and like breathe but I can't just sit in one place. And
it's hard for me as well. I'm like you as well. I call it squirreling. Everybody knows
squirreling.
Squirrel.
One
so it's really hard for me to put myself. Sorry, Chris.
I'm sorry. I was going to say one of my pet names for Kristen is a haunted bag of squirrels.
Yeah, he was actually gonna. Yeah, he was gonna
She's
make
a haunted bag of
page.
squirrels. I'm a haunted bag of nuts.
That's right. That's right, baby.
There you go. But he was actually going to dedicate a page to me called "The Haunted Bag of Squirrels."
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
But I understand because that's the way I am too, and it took me a lot. You can ask Chris. It took me a while to sit there and I did it before I went to sleep.
Slow down and start to focus because our mind goes in a lot of directions.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, for to each their own. I send my bioelectric aura out different ways than people, and I center myself different ways than people. To me, like vibrations is my
yes.
like music is another form of meditation, right?
Absolutely.
Like, so music's mine, like especially before cases. If I'm really stressed out, I'll put music on of all different calibers. It could be Taylor Swift. It doesn't really matter. It could be freaking Van Halen. It could be Anthrax. It could be Hatebreed.
Taylor Swift.
It could be Limp Bizkit. It is whatever.
Now you know better.
Resonate.
It's time to lose respect for you there. I'm sorry.
Gotta get a little bit of that nookie. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
I have a kid on the way. You know all about nookie.
We're metalheads, but I listen to like jazz too.
I was just singing "It's My Way or the Highway" before you had. Is a lyric for everything. You had said something that made me think of that. Check out. That's what it was.
Check it out.
Yeah, but my son had I hug a tree and just breathe, and I love her. She's just like us. But my son had an interesting dream. My son Jeremy, earlier in the week, and there's Mark Daly. Hello, son. My kids are on, obviously. So he doesn't believe what we do. He's a very big skeptic, and I mean, even we sat here one night, right, Chris? And they said his name on one of the spirit boxes, and he's like, no, I don't believe this. But he had a dream, and now he believes because there was a shadow figure. He woke up to it was in his dream, though. The shadow figure was choking him, and he woke up to that as well.
Right.
Apparently,
and you have a history of shadow figure problems when you were a child, but a younger child.
Yeah.
So we thought this would be an interesting thing to bring up and talk to you about.
Yeah.
What your opinion is to shadow people, and have you ever heard of hereditary issues with shadow people?
Well, I think the shadow person, from my perspective, it is well, of course, spirit could be an interdimensional being as well, because if they do go to another plane, it's definitely not in our plane. It'd have to be, unless they're like oxygen and unseeable, and they do somehow float around and wait at their best time of entrance. But I think shadow people are just like an emulation of a spirit that can't have enough energy, however they manifest and create an apparitional form. I think a shadow form is best it can do. And they're like in a demon. Why they appear as a shadow figure is because, for one, they're non-corporeal. They've never had a physical body by most modern lyric academic demonologists.
And mostly chaotic energy, right?
So they're pure spirit, so they don't have a physical body, so they manifest in a form as a physical body that we would understand. So I think shadow people are that. So for people that have that experience, maybe like Kristen, you had that experience. I tend to believe most people have abilities. Maybe how spirit comes to an individual, either positive or negatively, could be that maybe to them that's the best way they can receive it by their mind's eye, right? That this is a shadowy figure. Maybe that's how it appears to them because how we take it in, or heard your stories, or maybe you have abilities and he has abilities, and finally he had an awakening. There's so many avenues to look at it, but I think abilities can be passed down. Like if everybody has an ability, but what happens is like if my mother, so to say, my mother, she doesn't. My mother, because she's the least emotional person I ever met in my life, but if she was this person with abilities, then and this was told to me as a child, oh, I can see, or maybe I didn't know, and then I found out. like I feel like that because how genes work, and of course there's a nature method, and then there's the nurture aspect of it. But by nature, that gene was passed down, or that ability to see in that heightened sense was there. So maybe that's what happened with him as well.
There's more to the story. What had happened was the room that he was in, he had a roommate with him. And the roommate was sitting there, this made me laugh, was sitting there eating chips and drinking a drink, watching him have this dream. And my son Jeremy was really, really messed up over it. And he said, dude, what are you doing? He says, I was watching you dream. Jeremy told him about the dream and getting choked. He goes, the kid says, no way, that happened to me. I had the same dream not too long ago. And this place, I guess, is the place that they're in used to be, I don't know what kind of facility, but in their cafeteria was the morgue. That's now the cafeteria. So I was like, oh man, that's
intriguing. I didn't know
lingering soul, and that's the best they can.
And they were really brutal to the other people, and used to be, be abusive and stuff. So I'm like, well, maybe it's a negative entity. And he just texts me, says, no, it's more like a demon. Doesn't really know much about the paranormal and stuff, because it could have been like a really pissed off spirit.
Yeah, see, I think
traumatized.
I think people jump to demon is, of course, Carl and I look at it and define demonology, the culture and lore and cultural traditions of wicked spirits, right? So anything wicked, so like any like negative thing, like as a physical being, like if we scratch somebody, unless it's like kinky, it's usually in a negative sense. If we punch somebody, it's a negative sense. If we choke somebody, it's a negative sense. If we attempt communication in a certain way, it's a negative sense. But we also, as humans, once back to the physical nature of fight or flight, we always tend to jump to the negative conclusion. Like, if instead of the wind against the bush, it'll be, oh, there's an animal in the bush, right? So people don't understand is in an intelligent haunting, aka the word intelligent, a spirit might not have certain abilities to communicate you. They're maybe trying to speak to you vocally, but you can't hear it because it's a certain wavelength.
Right. The vibrations.
They're going to try to scratch you or make a mark on you. But people always jump to a demon because guess what? They're marked. They thought they got hit. As far as the choking, that is pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But a demon's not going to startle you like that, especially in first introduction. Like, traditional demonic lore, you'll know a demon will come to you as something deceptive. It won't come out so aggressively right from the beginning, because then it's already lost its ploy. It won't be able to meddle its way in. You already lost all its ground, basically. That's not what a demon is.
Right.
So, and I hear these stories all the time. Clients tell me this. And I'm
choked, like, choked his other friend as well. So, and I guess it's been doing that. So it's got to be some kind of abused, traumatized, negative entity, spirit.
You know what? It could, and to be honest, even choking could be something like, if something happened, it couldn't even be residual. Maybe two people in that spot got choked. People don't realize that stuff.
Yeah,
like,
it's room number 7.
So it sounds crazy, but sometimes there could be a replay, and you're part of that tape recording.
Yeah.
James, do you adhere to or believe in like those? Some people say 4 stages of possession, things like oppression and infestation, obsession, and I believe possession.
Yeah. So there's 3 forms. Obsession is in there. Diabolical obsession and oppression. Well, diabolical oppression is the 3 main factors. So I always like to simplify it for people. So I go infestation, oppression, because that's going to be most of the time, and then possession. But then, of course, in the oppression state, you could reverse it and have obsession instead, or you can go obsession. It can go infestation, obsession, or even obsession from the get-go. Like, there is, so I like to breach obsession. There's a 6th one, right? Or a 5th one is that you can look at for people that like practice black magic and wish to pull for something. Like, I kind of equate that to obsession as well. Obsession has different meanings when you talk about obsession, but I like to factor obsession in that you're obsessed in that kind of mentality of wanting. But also too is another part of obsession is if you went through infestation, not wanting it, but like for somebody that has ability, I've seen this. Somebody has abilities, it becomes heightened, right? They become so obsessed with that ability being so heightened, they feel like they can touch people and heal people. That's obsession as well, right? Because they become so obsessed with this heightened ability, even though it's not given to them by the divine. So, but to get back on the point, the third one would be possession. But then possession is two forms as well. Transient possession, which is the common one that is either done by exorcist or looked upon by demonologists, and then there's perfect possession, which in perfect possession is a transient possession that went to the form where the person's willpower has been fully demoralized. The body is basically a walking vegetable, and the demonic spirit comes in and inhabits the body at that point, has all full reign, and the person's basically not there. Like somebody in perfect possession in a long period of time, there's the less chance of bringing them back. Early stages of it, then for like when the demonic has the body 24/7, there is still ability for that person somehow to come back. But if you wait too long, then what'll happen is the demonic will gain foot ground. I've never seen this, but this is based upon what I've read and many different perspectives on the same thing. Is that the body will start to wither away, because guess what? No longer is the host soul part of that body, but also there's this negative encompassing spirit within the body. And if we know anything about stress and negativity when it comes to the body, it creates cancer, withers the body away, heart disease, other things that occur from stress and negativity. So this perfect possession will start to wither away the body. And that's what a lot of people say Annalise Mikel had towards the end. Even though she died of malnutrition, a lot of people.
Who was it?
Huh?
Who was the person?
Annalise Mikel.
I'm just writing it down.
Who that is?
Yeah, it was. It's the story based off of Emily Rose, Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Oh, okay.
So Annalise Mikel, she died of malnutrition, and in Germany the exorcisms were banned because the priest got indicted because she died. But people look at that case and say, well, she had malnutrition because the demon had full control of the body and did not allow the body to consume. This was a test of strength of the demon, saying, oh, this is what I can do. So, but of course, the judicial system, even in Germany, doesn't believe this. So, of course, they looked at it as they were neglectful. And in some form, they were. They should have gotten medical attention a lot sooner. But unfortunately, the church thought they were doing something right. And the priest went to jail, and Germany had banned exorcisms in probably to the early 2000s. Then, caveat, then another possession was done in Germany, and there was and then another death happened, and it was banned again. And now it's still banned.
Jeepers.
It's such a weird thing, when your spirituality comes up against medicine. You would think in times like that they would work together, but I could see how one would want to dominate the other. The medicine would say, no, this person needs to go to a hospital immediately, and spirituality would want to hide that person to get the demon out.
Yeah.
So that's a fascinating thought perspective on that.
Yeah, right. Did she die of malnutrition because of neglect, or did she die of malnutrition because of this parasitical outside force?
Well,
right. And you can imagine there's no REM sleep going on there for sure, right?
God, yeah.
So, I know how I feel after a few days of not sleeping. I feel like my whole body's starting to shut down.
Well,
right?
When you see it as somebody that's truly seen somebody that's been in a catatonic state of possession, like the person moves sluggish. Like they do move fast and they do have that power to them, but they're lethargic at first. They're very like stationary, but the motor skills in their body is just insane. Like their eyes, like their eyes are just looking right through you. Like their eyes, like, it's just weird. Like they stay stationary, but they move. And it's just a weird feeling. And just imagine the body, like you said, imagine the body being in that state at all times.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What does a person that is possessed look like? I mean, I'm sure there's all kinds of forms, but I mean, how can you tell if a person's possessed? Would it be like an addiction? Could that go with it? I mean, if they're lethargic and they're walking around and,
Well, it's not that they necessarily will look different from at the right point and right at that moment. Like sometimes a possession can last a period of time, and the longer something lasts, you start to see the transformation, the physiology of the body, right? Where they start to wither away, because once again, this is a stressful situation. Even though a lot of people in the early beginnings of being possessed, or even the middle stages until they maybe are receiving help, they don't know they're possessed a good chunk of the time. It's an outside influence, maybe family, friends, a religious leader that recognizes somebody off. But most of the time, it's a family and a friend, and they reach out because this person has had a 180 perspective, like you said, addiction. We have substance disorders, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, substances can emulate, in some sense, somebody that looks like they're possessed. Sure. But for somebody, let me say, that has no stress in their life, no panic, has a good career, has no skeletons in the closet, and lives their life happily and every day, and then starts, don't smoke, don't drink, doesn't do drugs, and then one day 180 occurs, and they're doing drugs, they're drinking, they're listening to they used to listen to gospel music, now they listen to heavy death metal. I listen to heavy death metal. I'm just using it as
we all do
in perspective. But what's it called? But that person changes, and people start realizing, well, why did this person change? And in reality, maybe there is no skeletons in the closets. Maybe there is no early childhood trauma. Nothing within the ACE studies when it comes to what did this person deal with? Did they see violence? Maybe they were grown on a farm, and this farm was of good people. They didn't abuse their children, but then they started experiencing this. What is that? Is that something maybe the mind just giving up one day? Or is there, in fact, something that when they see even the test of strength, because everybody thinks that a demon always tends to go over after the weakest. That's not always correct. Sometimes they will go after the strongest, because if they can take the person with the strongest faith and turn them against their idea or belief or faith of God, there's nothing better than doing that to your enemy.
True. Yeah.
Totally frigging them up, Yeah. So they like that. So sometimes it's not the weakest. They'll make the strongest turn to the weak.
Sarah had said, and this kind of plays into that, there is a saying, the greatest trick the devil ever performed is proving that he doesn't exist, right?
It's a famous quote.
So, yeah, it's a pretty famous quote, and it's kind of appropriate to what you're saying. I also think some people, I know there's psychologists, or at least some, not across the board here in any way, shape, or form, feel that people with addictions or other issues, they may be somewhat possessed. They're not in a state of full possession, but it may be an attachment to them that is causing these problems in their life. Yeah. Now, do you, like yourself, do you think there are people that maybe are committed or declared insane that may actually not be insane, but are actually possessed?
Well, possession can be loose. Like even in the DSM, there's possession, right? And in forms, they do use the word demonic as well in psychology. But what it can be is, it could, I do believe in demons, and have dealt with, like I said, the spiritual level of possession with this outside force. But what I think when it comes to the word attachment, where it has something to do with what you just asked, is that if I go to a place with heavy emotion, and I'm an empathic person, if I tested for an assessment and I'm high in empathy, and I went to a place of high emotion, I might feel something within that place that resonates and scars me, and then I take that as an attachment home with me. It changed my perspective, my personality traits, and I become a different person. Was that spiritual, or is that because of their just open ability, their openness to understanding their surroundings, knowing the stories, feeling that emotion, that resonance, resonation? And I think that's quite a possibility. So sometimes you can be in substance abuse, have drug usage, and of course, for most people, they don't understand it. It makes them feel good, but it lowers yourself. It puts you in a lower state, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
right,
that's why it's like chasing the dragon, because it puts you such it's such a. You're talking about meditation. If you want to go to a whole nother world, go take some heroin. No, guys, don't do that. I'm sorry.
No.
Drugs
are bad. Don't do that.
Yes, I'm just kidding, guys. Please, I know I shouldn't joke about it, but I'm serious. But it brings you into that state. So if you were in a location that was haunted, right, and you did that, what is the possibility once you came awoken from that state that you didn't bring something home with you either, because it latched onto you? So there's a lot of different ways to weave that.
They talk about these little gargoyles that they talk about in England, and they have a name for them, and they supposedly hang above the doorways of bars and different things.
Yeah,
and would jump on people as they came out of the bar because they're intoxicated, and they were open to that
for you.
That sort of possession. And there's a word for it, although I can't remember it. But you mentioned residual haunting, and Bob Burnell had a good question here. I thought this is pretty interesting. Can a residual haunting energy feed an actual spirit?
I think it's quite possible. In a hypothetical aspect, I think if there is something reactive to maybe like a residual haunting, that maybe it won't make the residual haunting intelligent, but it could play into that repetition and somehow come a part of it, or like affect it, or leech off of it, depending on what it is. Like, I think something that you would see into the enactment, what I believe, I know it's a thrown around word nowadays, but the original standpoint of what a hat man was, a soul collector, right? A hat man has said have been around places of residual hauntings or places of great death. Like, I've experienced it where the King Philip's War, French Indian War, because all New England, we're around all that area.
Right.
So like I did 3 cases in like a pinpoint location from New York to Pennsylvania, like 1, 2, 3 in the line where that war actually occurred, and this is where I experienced the Hat Man, and this is where a lot of bloodshed was done. So was that Hat Man there because of that? Was maybe there that residual haunting? Maybe there were some lost souls there. It was there, or it was reacting or feeding off of the residual haunting there to allow it to kind of cultivate its environment. And those aren't necessarily malevolent or benevolent beings. They're very neutral, like a Pukwudgie or most elementals are. They're very, very neutral, but they also, of course, if you pester, they can turn and they get very territorial. But it's very interesting in that sense. But like, as far as the gargoyle, I think that actually goes down to like early human civilization. The Sumerians had like gargoyle-looking creatures, and that was the first interpretation of how we understood angels and demons. Of course, with how it's interpreted nowadays, like the goy as well, right? Which is like connected to the watchers. So. Right. It's interesting, and they say that they could possess too as well, right?
Yeah. I don't know. It's a reference in the Sumerian text about. I know they brewed beer, and they had alcohol, but did they reference that as like a portal to being haunted, possessed, or a portal to God, maybe in a positive way?
With the gargoyle, the statue.
Yeah,
I'm talking about
Sumerians. Statue you found?
Sumerians.
Going back, you mentioned Sumerians.
Yeah, because they had what what I'm saying is the first interpretation of like a gargoyle is from Samaria.
Oh, okay.
They found statues like gargoyle-looking winged creatures, and that's the first interpretation of that.
Yeah. No, that's cool. There's a couple other things out here in the audience. We'll get through that, but I thought that was a good question. Like a residual haunting, some kind of emotional scarring in the ground. Like, can that scarring affect like a spirit that walks in the door?
Hey,
cool question. Thanks, Bob, for that.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine if I really don't want to imagine it because it sounds horrific, but could you imagine where the concentration camps are? Some of the ones that still linger today. If somebody started doing like black ritual magic there and like try to summon something, like would it be successful? Like would it linger off the residual haunt? Because a lot of that is probably residual because it's scarred into the ground.
Sure. And that's a good point because the cults will. A satanic cult, say a nefarious one, right? Now I'm putting down all Satanists because I have friends that are Satanists.
Not all
cults trying to kill children or whatever may choose a haunted location or something to perform the ritual for that very reason. Anne-Marie Young says, I always wondered about generational curses. A good talking point. I think more and more people are trying to break them, but at the same time, more and more are being created from all this negative energy around. More and more mental health issues and losing faith. Generational curses, James. You know much about that?
Good topic.
I have to think that unfortunately generational curse is something that's usually talked about within the family. So I always hate to say that. So like a curse, right? A curse is words. And hexing and doing all that is all words. There's intention in that, and there's ritual that you put out, like praying. I could say I pray for somebody's good faith right now, and hopefully that signal or thought or intention goes out and a collective, like everybody that prayed for me when I was in the hospital. I hope it helped. I felt good that people cared about me. That gave me some belief, that gave me some elevation, right? That gave me some happiness that people care about me, that they don't want me to die. So that helped me, and I felt that, right? So like, as far as her question, which I don't want to get off a tangent, was what
generational
curses, but like curse is a word spoken. And I feel like what happens to people is why it lingers, especially in a generational state, is people talk about it, that we're cursed. We dealt with this, and what happens is that you put that in somebody's mind, especially at an early age, that even maybe they said it once, they could be 2 years old, they said it once, that lingers in their head, and somehow it comes back and it becomes a proactive part of their life. This can occur. I'm not making this shit up. So I think that's a lot of the times how generational curses work. It stays within the family because it's passed down by the family.
And it's talked about by the family, so it keeps it out there. Yeah. There are kind of like, at least in my mind, and you don't have to agree with this, but I think there are kind of two kinds of curses, right? So one kind of curse is, I can tell you you're cursed, and you'll think about it in your life, and then you'll manifest it yourself without me having to do anything, because it's on your mind and you're going to manifest it. And I think there are other curses too, that we're Aleister Crowley, for instance, defined magic as the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with the will. And I do believe in magic. I do believe you can cause change in another person. The thoughts and prayers can become something that is actually a powerful thing.
Like you said, right, thought energy
is put in the right way. However, I like what you're saying. Maybe the cause of a lot of generational curses. I had never thought about that. People they talk about it within the household. Of course, they're going to think.
It stays in, and
they're going to manifest it themselves.
Magic's intention too, right? Like for Harry Potter's a perfect example, right? He had to believe to go through the wall to go into the right. He had to make that imagination come true that he was actually not going to go right into concrete. So
right.
But Aleister Crowley, I always feel like is a bad reference because the man at the end of his death renounced everything he did. Basically said, "I'm a crock and I believe in God." And that's true testament. You can look it up. But Aleister Crowley, unfortunately,
I think its definition of magic holds pretty well.
It does, but the guy did LSD, did so many drugs out the wazoo. Like the guy put his followers in dark rooms, look at dark imagery.
Not me. Yeah.
So like it's like it's hard to swallow anything that it's like saying Gregorio Rasputin was a healer. He was a madman that knew medicine, and he was able to deceive people and make him look self-superstitious. And the same with Crowley, unfortunately. He was a nut, and he had psychosis issues. It's clearly...
He had a lot of problems.
But he had a mind of imagination. And I think a lot of people... He was very charismatic, of course. A traditional cult leader is being charismatic. But he was so imaginative that his ability to maybe create intention was there, because he put enough emphasis into it, because guess what? He believed in it. He was imaginative. So maybe his form of magic was real.
Yeah. But at times, at least, I think belief, is a big part of that.
Yeah, we have a thing about that.
To believe it, you got to believe it's already occurred. But what I want to bring up, just people know you from demonology, right? What about angels and angelology? That is a thing, and nobody talks about the angels, at least not on this show.
Yeah, well, a lot of people tend to forget demonology is not a direct branch line off of theology. So how theology works, that there's 7 different sectors of it, if I remember correctly. Christology, hamartology, which is the study of sin. There's theology. Oh God, I don't want to butcher the other ones, but there's of course angelology, right? And angelology is actually the main branch line of demonology. So there's theology, there's angelology, and then off angelology is demonology. Because in theological sense, in the Christian perspective, right? Or, of course, in the Judaistic perspective as well, beside of Jesus and all that stuff, is that it is... God, I lost my tangent. Lost my train of thought.
Squirrels. Angelology.
Squirrels, see?
The squirrels, they got you. Get you every time.
But in perspective, there wouldn't be demons without angels, right? Because the 1/3 of the heavenly hosts fell out of the 9 choirs, and there's your demons, your fallen angels, and hell wasn't a place. They made hell their place. People tend to forget that. Everybody says, "Oh, heaven and hell," but Lucifer and the demons made hell. They made it their home, right? So I think in that sense, like, you couldn't have demonology with angelology. You have to understand, like, the Sephirim. You have to understand the 9 choirs. You have to understand why the rebellion occurred, where their treachery was, what are angels, which of course are non-corporeal beings as well, and pure spirit forms. But the one thing about angels and demons, which is referenced, everybody thinks this is a Christian term, but they are a perspective in every modern religion that has a dualistic approach. Hinduism, they have angels and demons, right? But they're Azoras. The demons are Azoras. Demons are in the Judaic belief system with angels as well, because Saint Michael is prevalent. And there's so many commonalities. Islam, they have angels and demons. The jinn are elemental, and they are a part of it, but they have angels and demons. And of course, they also have Zoroastrianism, right, which is the foundation of Christianity, Judaism, and Islamic. There was the first introduction of angels and demons in the pattern we understand it, with like angelos and el. Like angelos comes from Greek, of course, but you take Zoroastrianism and then like mix a lot of Greek mythology and other mythologies in there. And then that's when you start getting a lot of the concept of our modern interpretation of angels. But they've always been similar. They've always been that watcher. Like that's why people like ancient alien theorists with the Grigori, the watchers, or the thrones, thinking that they're of course the flying fire-shaped circle, and these beings watching you, or the messengers, right? They were called. So, it's interesting. But angelology, like Carl always makes a joke. Everybody, back to the negative thing. Everybody wants to hear about the negative. You turn on
right. That's funny you said.
It's about how many people died today. It's not about how many people did good things today. It's always what's wrong in the world, not what's good.
Nobody talks about their house being haunted by angels.
Yeah.
Right.
See,
so
I had
good TV apparently.
I've only had one angelic experience, in my opinion. Like I have a recording of it, and I really do believe that the person, that there was an angelic or divine intervention with an angel involved, and and that was my only time dealing with it, of positive force. But and I also, Athena Balk, who is an amazing person, I really do believe that woman can speak to angels, and she sees angels, because guess what? I've been on cases she has no clue about, and she says, angel sent me a message. He needs to be careful, and usually gives me a name of the client.
Wow.
Or you need to be careful. I have a message. You have something coming soon. And usually frickin' does, and I hate her afterwards. But I really do believe she does experience that. And I do believe that in some form that there were some form of spiritual mating with physiology as well. Like the Nephilim were quite possible. It's, we've talked about anthropology so many times with, I always butcher the name, with the giants in Siberia. But maybe that is some form of that connectivity. Maybe they really weren't preternatural, but maybe it was some concept. Especially if you look at Christology, that's the whole concept with Mary, and Christ, with part of that as well. So it's fascinating, angelology, and it's a really meaty sector of the field that demonology just touches upon. We focus on the wicked aspect of it, but there's so much good. There's so much more good.
I think there's as much good out there as there is negative. We talk about the high vibration and the low vibration, and this one's high, this one's low, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's good to think like, well, all right, at least there's something there in these higher vibrations, some other type of being that maybe never was human. I think it's fascinating, and correct me if I'm wrong, but angels, I think in the first testament, don't have wings. They don't get wings until the second testament.
Yeah, I just wrote that down to ask you.
Wings, I think it's interesting too, because it kind of plays into ancient aliens, if you will, like with the wings and they're flying and that kind of stuff. Could this be an alien?
I guess like the Sumerians actually technically, like I said, with their figure, their statue has wings. That's one of, but technically the first interpretation of an angel in our perspective with wings is the painting, the Annunciation. That's the first artistic perspective of angel having wings, is the Annunciation. Okay. It's an amazing painting. I forgot who's painted by. It's probably one of the greats, though. I think it's Michelangelo. I could be wrong. Yes. So angels never always had the wings. Because once again, they're non-physical beings. They're non-corporeal, so they don't have wings. It's all metaphoric, right? When we think of wings, we think of freedom, right? And we think of being one with God. We think of
a lot of things, really,
right? So there's a lot of metaphoric nature to it. They don't really have wings.
Literal flying, literal traveling very fast from person to person. There's lots of ways to interpret that.
Yeah, and relate it too. You think about birds, right? And I was talking about parrots the other night. Parrots can remember a lifetime, 40 years. They have a great long-term memory. So when we think about birds, we think of also not just flight, but we also think of intelligence, because birds are very smart.
Yeah,
they're not stupid. So of course, wings come into that nature as well. We think that the messenger is smart.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I'm sorry. They interpret it. They're what was it, inky? They have wings. They
inky. Yep.
Yep. Carve them with wings.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that interpretation to you? Would that be that they're angels?
So wings, I think wings can mean anything in interpretation.
Just for the Anunnaki part, for them.
Yeah. So
it's a really
I don't
beautiful
know,
painting.
And Sarah has a good question off of that, but I don't know. I think the wings are all metaphorical, to be honest with you.
Yes.
Like I think
I was just wondering what they probably meant when they did the statue.
Yeah. It probably. Well, like Chris said, like a lot of things were from the sky back then, right? Which I think that's interpretation. If you think of like light, right?
Yep.
Light shines from
the sky. It's the sun. Yeah.
So when you see that light, it coming down, and even early interpretations, they knew birds could fly. Things been flying since the prehistoric era, so we even 200,000 years ago, the early civilizations of humanity could understand like, oh, something flies is coming after me, but they don't, they weren't able to really cognitively figure it out.
Right.
But they still know, oh shit, that's coming from me at the sky. So, but I think that's a lot of that interpretation too. Like it's coming down, and they intersected that kind of like coming down with light. It's so hard.
It is. It's really hard. I was just wondering your interpretation of it, like in your opinion. And yes, I love. That's one of my favorite books, Jonathan Livingston Seagull. I just saw somebody put that up.
What book is it? Jonathan? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Great book, Jonathan.
And I see your coworker. Yep. And what is orphanium?
All right, that was a reference to the book of Enoch, a very interesting book, and it features archangels like Archangel Raphael behind me. In fact,
that's the first book that enunciates that there are many archangels, actually, because you think about it. I think in the Bible, if I remember correctly, they only talk about 2 of them.
There's only 2 mentioned by name. Raphael, in fact, which everybody's pretty familiar with, right, isn't mentioned by name. It's thought there's one passage where an angel is referenced they think might be Raphael, but he isn't mentioned by name. But the Christian church recognizes 3, right? They recognize, I believe it is Michael, Raphael, and maybe Gabriel.
Gabriel's the most important. Who do you think told Jesus' birth was occurring? That was Gabriel.
Right.
So
there you go. I'm not.
He was the messenger. He was the messenger angel, basically, in all of it. If you think about it, there were other angels interpreted in the Bible, but Gabriel was the one that brought news. Gabriel is also the one, I believe, at the resurrection as well.
But it's thought that there are quite a few more.
Well, I think there's 7 archangels.
7.
It's like 7 bowls or something. Yeah.
So, it's Raphael, Uriel, Ramiel, Michael, Gabriel, and it has a U in it, but I know most of. And then there's one that, and then of course there's people talk about Metatron.
Metatron, right?
That's
another.
But that's in most Christianity, that's non-canon. That's not even thought of as being true. But theologians do love that exploration.
Metatron. It reminds me. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I don't mean to
Megatron?
offend anybody. Yes, thank you.
Well, in some concept, that's where the concept
probably where they came from. Osriel. My cat's name is Osriel. So I was thinking of that.
He's not an angel.
No, it's Azazel. Is it Azazel? I'm so sorry. I'm just terrible, but that's
all right.
Yeah, Azazel's not an archangel.
No. But it is fascinating how that stuff gets broken down, right? We get one belief system says, "Oh, there's this many," and another belief system says,
and then they pull the book out.
Right now what the archangels are.
Yeah, they pull the book out altogether.
No,
the Book of Enoch.
So I do invocation of archangels all the time, and I totally forget it. Terrible. I'll tell you right now. You guys can continue questions though while I look for this. I can try to do my best to multitask.
Celophiel, I think that's another one. Sure.
Oh, right here. All right. So there's Saint Michael, Saint Gabriel, Saint Raphael, Saint Uriel, Saint Ramiel, and Saint Cyril. Those are the archangels.
Cyril. It is all a little surreal at times.
I can't stand
but I
that
don't
word
think they
when people
get enough credit outside of New Age circles, if you will. You know, there are people that talk about angels all the time.
Of
She
course.
talks to angels, you know, like a Black Crow song. And then, you know, you get into the paranormal and they're rarely mentioned.
Well,
St. Michael does get a little credit, you know.
Statistically, look this up, people. I'm not making this up, and I just not look this up. It's just it's a number that fascinates me, so it sticks in my mind. Is that 55% of people believe they have had an angelic experience where it's saved them from like a very bad situation. 55% of people in America,
and they believe
a lot of damn people.
Yeah,
like I
said, saw that poll not too long ago.
Yeah, 44% of people believe in ghosts, but 55% of people believe an angel saved them.
Yeah.
More people believe in angels than ghosts.
Right, but rarely do we talk about them in the same, you know, paragraph, same sentences, you know, conversations, because they just seem to exist outside of each other. And I don't think that's right. I'd like to bring them together, and I thought that'd be an interesting point, being as we talk so much about the D word and you know, these negative entities and everything. Not all hauntings are bad.
Yeah.
You know, some people have hauntings that are perfectly fine, and they don't experience anything terrifying. You know, they're not thrown against walls. They're not, you know, being raped or anything else. You know,
no.
Yep. Hey, see, even like talking about being raped, even like and if you really kind of peel back the onion in those cases, like a succubi or incubi cases, the individual that's actually being experienced in that sexual, spiritual molestation, they actually have early childhood trauma of being either molested or raped or something like that in their youth, and that's why the succubi and incubi affects them, because they know they play on their weakness of this trauma. And
it's like an open door.
Anybody that has had that experience, I bet if you looked at of course they wouldn't come out and say it. You have to peel that. And that's why when you work with people, when it comes to these, you have to dissect their life, and you have to understand what is the root cause. Okay, yes, this is happening, but what caused it? It wasn't just because somebody picked a freaking glove up at a graveyard. It was because they picked up the glove and they had this experience that affected them, and this is what they play off of. But yeah, incubi and succubi cases, I bet most of them, if not all of them, had the person that was being infected had some sort of youth trauma with
previous trauma, its previous involvement with such things. That's totally possible. I watched something recently, and it was actually kind of old, and I'm surprised I hadn't seen this. And it was about regression hypnosis, and I thought this was fascinating. And it was talking about the work of like John Mack, and who I respect, you know, Bud Abbott, these ufologists that often talked about, particularly Bud Abbott, about people who had been molested by, say, aliens, right? And you know, these sexual things were done during the abductions and things, and how they seem to almost put the power of suggestion into them, asking them, you know, do you feel anything in your body? And in the sort of power of suggestion that was going through their hypnosis sessions. You know, and I watched some of the hypnosis sessions himself, and I could see the point they were trying to make, the people that were criticizing them. Because they were almost putting in this, and the power of suggestion is so strong. Well, you know, your mind is always trying to put something together. So if you tell somebody, there was another example argument put against us where they had suggested to somebody in this regression hypnosis something that had never happened to them. You were lost in a supermarket for hours. You know what happened, and then the person would start to describe who found them, and like it was like their mind tried to put it together, even though the experience never actually happened.
That's interesting.
Yes. So hypnotherapy is very fascinating. It can help overcome certain things, but unfortunately, if you understand what hypnotherapy is or hypnosis is, it is all suggestion. You're telling somebody to quit smoking subconsciously, right? And hopefully they relate to that. So, but what you can do as well, you can, if you are putting somebody in that state and you say wrong things, they interpret that, and that becomes a part of their reality. So like some people always have said to me, like see, with alien people that have like alien abduction, right? And if somebody does a hypnosis session on them, I think that is totally wrong, because guess what? What in that question, are they open-ended questions, not relating to aliens, or being sexually touched? And I bet there's a lot of times where you say, "Oh, go to that moment. What did they do?" But you're already saying, "What did they do?" So you're making a suggestion right there. So in the mind, in a split second, even though not as fast as a computer processor, we do like 1,000 per second of processing, while a computer does like 1 billion per second, you know. But we can do parallel. We can figure out something and create a story very fast.
Sure.
Than what a computer can, because a computer only processes one way
of what it's interpreting.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
So,
this is where pareidolia comes from.
Yeah.
You know, somebody looking at the clouds and they see a face. Your brain is trying to put together that face.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, what my main point of it was, before I go off on my tangents like I usually do, is that people have asked me, well, would you take somebody that was possessed and did not know what they were going through? Because of course, what I said is, if they were truly being possessed, there would be a lot of kind of brain fart, like a lot of cloudiness to what occurred. And would you put them under hypnotherapy to help them heal? I'm like, no, because that's the worst thing you can do. Why would you want to relive something you don't even remember? For one, you should just start this day as a new day and forget all about it. And for one, what will they create a part of what they thought occurred in that hypnotherapy session? And you guys were at Wilson Castle when we did the hypnotherapy thing, right?
Yes. We were right behind you. Yes.
That was a form of suggestion. We were suggesting somebody to think of, okay, you're dying, but also get close to your death. We're not saying that we fabricated them having that experience, but what we did is we put them in a state. We gave them the suggestion that they were dying, and this is what to feel. And either if their communication to their sight of their loved ones is real or not, it was comforting or opening to them. And that was what was important. But it also did help the environment as well. We have been told by Matt and, of course, Shea, that afterwards, through their data collecting, that they did experience heightened senses, like heightened activity within their data collecting. So, like, was that a piece of the puzzle? Like, was that an activation? As like somebody talked about activating the environment. But that was, a lot of it was suggestion. You know, we were telling them. And, you know, of course, as me being the physical element of it, I tilted people over the railing. So they already, like, even though their eyes were closed, they could feel that motion. They could probably in their head feel
like they're falling.
Could occur if they let go.
Yeah.
You know?
You can imagine it. Sure. Get that sensation just to bring them that much closer to the reality that you were trying to create.
Right.
You know,
and where somebody died too.
Right there at the stairs, exactly. Right where you, But we were there. I'm sorry, Chris. We were there later, and we caught a lot of activity. A lot of things were happening. Shay couldn't breathe. She was having a hard time. I felt like I was being choked, and that was upstairs. Now you think from
your a lot of activity, actually.
Yeah, you think from that experience that and those people that you did that to were not there. But do you think from that experience that you did, that experiment, that helped the activity grow? Is that what you're saying?
I think it's quite a possibility. I could have went there through and done a drum circle through Wilson Castle, and that vibration might have heightened activity.
I can see.
But I think that what we did, because we brought people to a certain reality of death, or close to it, and some of them seeing their loved ones, I think that emotion could have rippled into the ethos of the surroundings we were in and activated something. Like, I think it's quite possible.
Drum circle, because I mean there's an innovative
that would be something.
Right, and people need to like push the limits of these things. There's all sorts of ways to bring about paranormal phenomena.
Carl and I,
possibly, provoking the spirits or yelling at them. Kristen, what are you doing here? Are you wiping your screen or something?
It was like, but yeah, Carl and I, anytime we do events, especially our own events, we attempt experimentation, like, and you know, we don't do it in egocentric sense. Like, we don't provoke. Like, sometimes we'll get a little, like, especially me, like, I'll get a little, like, provocative in my statements, like, but it won't be necessarily demeaning to what I'm talking to. But I will say, please talk now, or talk now, like, out of not necessarily frustration, but if people are using their tools and their tool says, and they're so communicative, but I'm wanting this certain data, like, and and this is supposedly happening, then why can't this happen? So, like, but like, yeah, definitely, we'd like to push the envelope, because that's what researching and investigations are about. Like, look at some of the craziest psychology experiments on the human mind. Look at the experiment they in the bottom of the university, they made a prison, and people were guards and some people were prisoners, and they let it just go for like a week. And it got crazy. Like, it got really, like,
it was a pretend prison. Yeah, it was a pretend prison, and the people were supposed to be, there was inmates and there were guards. Yeah. And after a while, they just, like I said, like James says, it was an experiment. After a while, the guards, these people, even though they're acting, they took power upon the inmates who were acting as inmates, and it became a very stressful thing, you know, for both the inmates and the guards.
Yeah, the psychologist's girlfriend, who was a psychologist, actually came in because he was so happy. Like, he was the ringleader. Like, even though he didn't realize he was the reason this was happening, like, letting it go, and he got power from it too. But when his girlfriend came in, she shut it down, because she's not psychologist. She said, is this the person you are?
Yeah.
But can you imagine, and I might have sparked an idea, can you imagine taking that idea into a paranormal investigation, where you take a group of people who are negative, and then a group of people that are good, even though that's not really them, and you throw them in that environment and they act that way, and see what you get?
You're going to get a lot of chaos.
So there you go.
That's fascinating.
That's an energy thing. It'd be a good experiment, but
pushing the envelope a little bit. You know, I think everybody gets set in their ways, and they feel like what they see on TV are the rules, if you will.
No.
You know, and I've been guilty of this myself, you know, and starting out with any sort of paranormal investigation. It seemed like, oh, you're supposed to do this and this and this because I saw it on the show. You know, you feel that way.
You don't provoke them. Really, I definitely don't.
I agree. But you don't have to necessarily follow those rules, whether or not it's provocation or, you know, just the way you set up your scene. You can do all sorts of things. There's all sorts of experiments you can do. And it's good to be experimental, you know, not necessarily doing negative things or provoking, like just to mention, but push the envelope, think outside the box, because there's other ways to do it.
Like Estes method and different things like that.
What are you doing with your...
Because if you think about it, right? Is life after death inside the box, or is it in reality outside the box?
Schrodinger's cat.
So in that sense, sometimes you have to step outside the box to experience what is outside the box.
Right. Exactly. Right? That's the way Kristen and I try to do it as well when we investigate.
I agree. And I'm going to put you guys together, and I need to step away for one moment. So I'm going to jump off the screen.
Of course you do.
I'll be right back.
We'll talk to the cat, the coworker.
Meow. Meow.
Coworker.
I will say, though, you guys have especially Chris, you guys have the most, like, your backdrop is like awesome. And
thanks, man.
I love the sugar skulls in the back. Like, I feel like I'm in Los Muertes over here.
My daughter painted the painting. That's actually a copy of a Van Gogh, but it's enhanced and it has tattoos and things on the skull.
That's awesome.
That Van Gogh, of course, didn't put in.
Did you guys go to that experience? I wanted to go so bad.
Which one?
The Van Gogh experience?
No, I wanted to love to have gone to that.
I love Van Gogh.
It looks so amazing. I've seen a few people post pictures. I believe it was in Boston. At one of the museums, I believe, but I could be wrong. But they had the Van Gogh experience. It wasn't the actual paintings; it was all digital. But it was like set up asymmetrically, like it was just set up like artistically. and it looks so beautiful. It had
Would have loved to have
some
gone
of
to
the most famous things on the wall. Yeah,
we see that next time. Let us know. We'll go with you guys.
Yeah, of course. Now that I know you like Van Gogh, I will definitely. We'll make it a 4-way date.
There you go.
We have a pregnant girl. We can roll. We can use her as a role.
How's she feeling?
She's good. Actually, for people that are watching, I can't say anything, but we did find out the sex of the baby today.
Ah, nice.
So we'll make that announcement soon. But yeah,
excellent.
So, but yeah, she's been sick all the time. But
she texts me all the time, and she's like, "I'm sick again." I'm like, "Oh, you poor thing. It happens." So, yeah, I was going to ask you a question. About the shadow people. The shadow. Yes. They usually, like the Hat Man, like you were saying. I know Heidi Hollis coined that term, but you think that they're actual apparitions. My son wants to know. He's been texting me. He thinks that this thing is demonic. And now, for somebody who doesn't really know much about the paranormal, he thinks that it was a demon. And I'm trying to explain to him it was a negative person. Now, he's still watching. So I'm like, ask James something on on here so he could elaborate on what we want to know. And apparently this place was founded in 1991, the place he's at. Mm-hmm. And before that, I don't know what it was. And I guess he doesn't either, but whatever it was there for a while. And like I said, the cafeteria was a morgue, but there's something about this number room 7 that people have had interactions with this shadow person. So I don't know if that pertains to the room as well. Apparently it doesn't. He just said it doesn't. It's been found. It's some other rooms as well. Okay. So it's not just to 7. So I'm telling, must be something, someone who's very traumatized.
Definitely. And especially being a morgue, maybe somebody that still lingers because they're confused.
I guess the place was some kind of a, I don't want to say mental institution, but it was something like that.
Because you got to remember that sometimes confusion can lead to negative reactions, right?
Right.
So maybe they're being hostile because they've been lost so long. Maybe it's intelligent, but they've been lost so long that it's confused and it just reacts. It's the way it's choking. Yeah, or maybe it wants you to feel its pain.
That's what I thought as well. Yeah. They probably want you to feel their pain. That probably happened to them. They probably, God forbid, died from it, and that's what's going on with that.
Yeah, and if it happens again, of course, then if it happens more than a couple of times, then but what people need to understand when it comes to paranormal activity, and somebody like one of the original Ghost Club members, Charles Dickens, when he wrote the introduction and conclusion of the book A Haunted House, he explicitly states that, of course, we are the element to why a haunting occurs. With yes, like everybody uses the analogy. Does a tree falling in the woods make a sound if you're not there? Of course it makes a sound.
Of course.
But we only hear the sound because how we perceive that wavelength. But in the same essence, does a haunting occur without human element? It's quite a possibility people have seen things from the window with nobody inside. But when people are a part of it, there's more of an entanglement. There is that battery that we are and the emotions we put into an environment. So maybe in that sense, that spirit or lost soul wants people to experience their pain. But what I tell people, if it keeps happening, you have to set your boundaries. You have to, don't play into it. Like, don't start doing investigations or recording it. Just be like, you don't belong here. This is my spot. And if something happens,
like if he wakes up
being choked again, I know it's not easy said than done.
Right.
You can't react and feed. You have to collect your thoughts and then switch your thought pattern.
It feeds off the fear. So
it does. Anything does. Like even people, even positive people feed off fear in some way.
Things are associated with low vibrational entities.
Right.
Be they spirit or something else.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
He's
kind of
just
on the nefarious side.
hell bent that it was demonic. And I'm like, no, Jeremy.
It doesn't have to necessarily be a demon.
No. And he doesn't really know about, like he doesn't investigate and understand what we do.
Sure.
So.
And that's what Duo Daemonology is all about. This is what I'm about. If you 10 years we might have had a different interview. I've been lecturing, I can't believe it, been lecturing and doing radio shows for over 11 years.
Wow.
And if you've listened to my radio shows 11 years ago, 10 years ago, we probably, or if we somehow got in a time machine and we did the show with my perspective, then it will be a different interview. I've learned and I've observed people, I've observed environments, took the characteristics of the normalities, like somebody like a Hans Holzer or Harry Price might have thrown out. And I've looked at this stuff and I've taken it to my own personal accounts of what I've dealt with.
Thank you, Liz. Right.
And so like, it's definitely interesting, but it is fascinating how things can occur, and there is so much unknown still of not just of humans themselves, but Earth, the universe. So it's fascinating. There's always going to be questions before there's enough answers.
Right.
Big question in and of itself. I mean, are we talking about consciousness in that haunted house, talking to us, talking through the spirit box?
Yeah.
Is it a consciousness? Is it coincidence? That kind of thing. You can look at it statistically. You say, well, it's impossible.
See, like,
that way. And then
another big study I would love to do, talking about pushing the envelope, but it would cost so much money, and I don't even really care because I don't do this for any sort of like fandom or like money thing. Like, my theories I throw out there, and if people want to run with them, great. What I've always wanted to do is shut off a house, kill natural gas, kill electric from the meter on, put a house in a Faraday cage, and then investigate it. And that will take any outside influence beside the humans inside that house. Or you put that environment to there, you put a Faraday cage over, you have cameras, and you observe outside the environment, proclaims haunted place, and see if still anything occurs when there's no natural gas, no electricity going there. You have a Faraday cage, no radio waves or any sound waves.
EMF, anything.
Right.
Oh, that's so cool.
Sure.
And then you see if there's still activity. And then what you do, if there's still no activity, you add the human element. And you see, okay, there's no natural resources coming into this location, but there's humans. And now is there activity happening? And that, I think, is a study. But put a Faraday cage over a house would not be
fund me.
There's a question there from Sarah. Says that, can you have a Faraday cage without electricity? I believe that is yes. I have Faraday bags for the spirit boxes.
Spirit box.
Well, Faraday cage is basically just so you could how you could easily make one is like it's simple, but of course, especially now in this time frame, is you would really need high strength aluminum foil or aluminum in general, and you could do like a PVC dome structure around the house, and then overlay the aluminum because the aluminum keeps things from coming in, or bouncing out, right? So you contain, but you could buy all the aluminum supply, like thousands of rolls of aluminum foil, and roll that dome over and over again, like 3 or 4 times, and that would help. Because it's like, I shouldn't tell this, but if for people that have work trucks, if you have a GPS, if you wrap that sucker up in aluminum foil 4 times, the antenna loses signal. It can't track you anymore, and it doesn't get the error signal that it's getting pulled out, because guess what? It never got pulled out.
I'm sure there are people out there that could use that information. Yeah. But I would also like to say parapsychology, right, has looked at that in reference to, say, ESP, extrasensory perception, and put people, the guinea pigs, if you will, in Faraday cages, and found that it made no difference at all. With the thinking that the telepathy or something worked in this sort of electromagnetic wave, try to just stop that and prove, can you still communicate telepathically, and they found that it did make a difference. Now hauntings, of course, it's a different thing. We're talking about something else, but it's good to note, because I think there is some correlation there between the two.
Of course. the human element, yeah. I think once you have a consciousness thought of like a connection to an individual, you open a lot of communication through the mind. I think that won't be interrupted by a Faraday cage, but what the Faraday cage would do in like a sense of a haunting, I think what would do is that these spirits, we always say all the time, feed off our energy, right? You always hear people in EVP sessions say, you are allowed to use my energy, but not harmfully. Like, so we always act ourselves as the kind of conduit. Mm-hmm. So like when you take EMF out of it, you take anything for it to feed off of, will it feed off of the wood? Because wood is living, and that sense is basically dead, but it's still a living material.
Consciousness.
Matter. There's probably still things in that wood that's living, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. So
we agree.
Will that still have some sort of effect? So there's a lot to work on that, but I think it's like if you take out the ability of an outside influence, what would occur?
Right.
I love that.
Psychism and the philosophy of that, where inanimate objects have the ability to hold a consciousness. And I think it's true. I think it is kind of our explanation for haunted objects. But are you interested in doing maybe a quick spirit box session?
That's our new box. We didn't tell
That's our new box.
On air?
Koss out there. And Greg Koss has the only other one of these. This is a custom spirit
Greg
box
Koss.
From Supernatural Inc. Katie Stafford, Katie and Katie, who are our guests recently, and they were showing us the box before they sent it.
Yeah, he was on Ghost of Morgan City, correct?
Yes, he's the guy that builds the gear for that show.
It's insane.
And he's been on a few shows. Quite a guy. He was a lot of fun to talk to. We had a blast talking to him, and this came in the mail today.
So let me ask. So I won't air my opinions on direct voice phenomenon or anything, direct radio voices or ITC. But what makes that box special compared to, let's say, any other responder, transceiver, or antenna?
Okay. I can tell you it has more triggers in it. It has an EMF sort of trigger that will affect the speed of the scanning.
Okay. So once it detects like a high EMF in the wavelength, it'll start doing like a sporadic white noise.
Right. It has an algorithm in it, and it'll change the speed of how it scans, giving spirit yet another way to possibly manipulate the box, right? Which is very interesting. It has quite a few little features in it. A sort of noise gate is built in there to make it quieter. We borrowed one of these, but not this exact model. This is a new one.
Yeah,
there's only two of them in the world, and the other guy that has one is in our audience, Greg Koss. He's like, "Yes, do it, awesome." Did you get yours,
Matt Waddell.
I just got mine today. We borrowed Matt's, who was the model
at Wilson Castle.
At Wilson Castle, and we got some like amazing responses from it, and you could hear it shift in speed. So it clearly was getting some sort of EMF occurrence. Where it's scanning at it, and it would just speed up and then slow down, and it was bizarre, and it seemed to work well. Now you mentioned direct voice response. I think that's the DRV. I think is the acronym.
DRV, direct video. Voice.
I think that is amazing, and I do believe with any of these kind of devices, the more time you put into them and use them, the better they work. Like you're putting your own energy in. I've talked about Annabella Cardoso on the show quite a bit. If you're familiar with her, she is this little Portuguese woman. She lives in Spain. I believe she's a doctor, and she has been doing this for over 20 years. And what she does is set up a shortwave radio to a channel with absolutely no broadcasting on it, and just sits there on the one channel to rule out any false positives of a car sales ad or whatever it is going across the airways, right? And she gets some amazing things. Now the spirits, and this is odd, only talk to her in Portuguese, which is her native language.
Yeah.
So she talks to the operators, and they will give her like a paragraph. And I've heard some of these recordings. They are insane, of information, and the translations make complete sense. And it's people that have passed on, or the operators trying to tell her something. They're very relevant to the conversation that she's having. Now, which is like the ultimate paranormal, right? So how do you do that? But go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, continue. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
I think she spent so much time. Like, it was a period of time where she went, I think, 2 years without getting a response, but she did it every day, diligently. Then that kind of diligence and energy put into the box, put into the phenomena, seems to create it.
So let me ask you this, and this is a theory that I have, an AK theory. So it's something that I'm on the fence about. It's not something I believe wholeheartedly. But so when people, you just said it, plain example, you put the energy into the box. So once again, oxygen was misunderstood. Oxygen, we didn't believe it existed because it was invisible. Sound is invisible, right? So if you put enough energy into the box, what is saying that you telepathically aren't imprinting sound on those devices, especially if you want enough perception of thought that this moment is occurring? Like, I know in that sense, it's impossible, maybe, but why can't it be possible that you're actually imprinting the sound? It sounds invisible. So you're imprinting this on this wave going on right now. You're in the moment. We say consciousness can be projected, aka poltergeist, aka thought form, tulpas, inner demons that come projected. So why not imprinting sound waves or patterns on?
Well, yeah, and it's an interesting thing, especially when you say tulpa or like an egregore, where you're putting energy into something and it becomes its own life form. Now you got to understand that life form has a consciousness while it follows your directive. And in things like chaos magic, you create an egregore and you want it to fulfill a certain task, and then it has to eliminate itself because you can't have the thing continuing on. You have to kill it.
Sad.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Although it seems to act independently, which is also the way the spirit box might react. So awesome point, James.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe it is our psychic imprint, but maybe we can manifest.
It's not always a possibility. Like
consciousness, like a form of consciousness. Like, what would you call that?
I've had times where the spirit box has, given wealth of information, like doing Eastern State Penitentiary. Of course, the famous people within the penitentiary, but you're in that penitentiary, like the no-namers are not going to be on the radio or on any form of maybe History Channel, because maybe they did like a minor crime, but they died in the hospital or something. Who knows? Or they imprinted something. But I forgot the name off the top. But we got a name at Eastern State Penitentiary over the spirit box. We researched the name. The person went to Eastern State Penitentiary, and they actually were a prisoner there. That was fascinating. There's been times I got swear word over the spirit box.
All the time.
But is that once again, is that us? But of course, if of course, how the FCC works, right? Is that what FCC, right?
Yeah.
So FCC, if you swear, it's a fine.
Right. They wouldn't be swearing.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not thinking about when I ask a question about swearing.
If you say, "What is my name?" and it tells you your name back. What are the odds of that? Statistically, it's so.
Unless you're the one imprinting it and wanting
we've had that occur to us time and time again.
I don't know. That's a good question, though, James.
But
you're right.
The thought that maybe we're expecting it to say it and imprinting it somehow and manifesting it ourselves. Oh, totally think that's a possibility.
That is definitely a possibility
because we don't have the answers. We don't know.
No, that's why we all do this.
Right. That's what we want to know. We want to know those answers.
I mean, are you up for it? You don't look like you're enthused with it and much.
Oh, no, it's fine. Hey, I don't boast about it, but before his death, I did ghost box sessions with Frank something. And he's the creator of ghost boxes.
Yeah.
So
I know Frank something.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like, I'm not against it. I think that's interesting. So let's do it.
I think it's fascinating. Okay. And I think what we should do before we start it is maybe set an intent, right, of who we're going to
Greg Koss just said, you guys going to set an intention for your box? So.
Right. You just mentioned Frank Sumption. Maybe we could think on Frank Sumption a bit, creator of the Sumption boxes. I mean, one of the, the modern day pioneers of the spirit or ghost box. And I know he was known as what, the Purple Princess, right, Kristen?
Oh yeah, the purple.
He
Yeah,
had gotten that across a session he was doing, from an alien, supposedly.
Yeah.
I know.
I swear we've gotten aliens on ours, and
yeah, we've been called hybrids. Very, very strange things. Very clearly. Yeah. A big story to that. We're not going to get into that
and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Frank
All right,
Sumption.
so
do we want to try to
see if we can
find the spirit of Frank Sumption?
Spirit fingers.
How's that coming across? Can you hear that one?
It's coming.
Yeah. Frank, are you here with us? Do you remember me?
Sure. Frank, what is your last name? Ooh, I heard something that's a little something. Little something. Let's think about this. And you're in the audience, please think about Frank Sumption. It's an experiment.
Frank, what was the last thing you said to me?
I just put his name up on the screen. Frank, were you into ITC, instrumental transfer communication? Yes or no? Always.
Frank, who created the first idea of the ghost box?
I was hoping to hear Tesla in there. Frank, can you tell us any of our names? What is your name?
What year is it, Frank?
I'm going to try something else, guys. I'm going to put a cat ball next to the box.
My cat cat.
I noticed a little variation there in the speed it was moving. So if we're not talking to Frank, we might be talking to somebody. Or perhaps
I heard a bunch of
you don't know.
stuff. I love the Frank assumption in the ticker.
Yeah, I put Frank assumption in the ticker. So people would see his name and project it.
Frank, what article inspired you? What year was it from? Did you just say it? Can you say it again? What was the article and what year was it from?
Not hearing it yet. If anybody can hear this and you have a message for us, could you tell us what that message is?
Okay. What gender is my child going to be?
It's touchy, son. What is my cat's name?
So cute.
I swear. What's up?
Count to 10.
That's weird.
Did you just touch it? Oh, you just touched it.
I'm turning it faster.
I was gonna say, I thought I heard. I see in Paranormal. I thought I heard 1 through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
I know that's weird.
It has lots of features, but
it's really cool.
We have put no energy into this box, so
nope, not yet.
You can see it's sign there in the back, Katie Stafford.
Yeah.
And
my trick question for Frank was, what was the article and what year? What inspired him to make the Frank's box? Yes, I see. Greg it was alien communication, but it was actually a 1995 article in Article Electronics that actually inspired him to actually do that. So Frank would know that instantaneously, you know.
Sure. And over time maybe we'll get those kind of answers. I don't know. It came today. I was excited. I wanted to put it on.
Yeah, I was wicked excited. I'm like, I wish I was there.
We'll have to do something local. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
We got to go out and do something, James.
Go back out to dinner and try to close the restaurant down again. And
let's see. Let's go to tavern and let's see if we can rent it out because
the
food's fantastic.
Oh my God, it was so good.
I saw a primer last time we were in there. That looked like something out of the Flintstones. It looked like a Brontosaurus burger. It was, like this big, sitting on the woman's plate. I'm like, how are you gonna eat that? It was a king's cut or something.
And
I think we still gotta go to Twin Rivers. So I think we have to check that off first because we went. I'm sorry, I'm talking about. We were supposed to go somewhere else recently, but
Twin Oaks, you mean? Yeah. We had
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, we went to Twin Oaks. That was fun.
So much food. It was
Yeah, my
ridiculous.
mom was like, "Oh my God, they're still open." I'm like, "Yeah, James told us it was like the first restaurant ever built and whatever." And
It was the first.
and,
It's the longest restaurant in Rhode Island history. Yes.
yeah, my mom
Yeah,
used her parents took her
goes
there
in
when she
there,
was
but-
little.
Yep.
was like,
I believe my
wow.
parents took me to
Yeah.
as a kid. And I vaguely remembered it, but I hadn't been in my adult life. But once I got in there, I was like,
there,
oh, I think I've been here.
I wonder if that place is like has any activity because of
Oh,
how many emotions went in there. I've assumed somebody had to die in there by choking on food or something, or heart
attack. Quite a few people have died in there.
It has to be.
So
that would be a cool place because that's been there forever. It did burn down once due to a fire. I do.
Yeah, saying.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Well, I can't wait to get together. We've definitely been talking about it, and
we have to go back out.
We got to eat, and we gotta do some paranormal. Sounds great.
People don't know us. We've actually gone out to eat with James and his girlfriend Celine for a couple of times now.
Well, yeah, you guys did Friendsgiving here. We did a show from here with a bunch of Matt Warner, Keith Johnson, Carl, Jason Yellow.
Oh my God, whole cast of characters.
Awesome.
And that was such a wonderful thing that you did, putting that on for everybody. And
yes, thank you.
Yeah, I got to say, it was a great measure.
Very sweet.
It was awesome. So thank you again.
No, thank you guys for coming over. I still talk about that strip Mozambique. I loved it so much.
Oh my God, I'll make more. I love strip Mozambique, but thank you. We'll have to do that one night as well.
And
just have you guys over
after the show, and we'll put together some dinner plans. But we got to get out and investigate as well. And we want.
Yeah, we need to.
We're kind of getting up there, and the hours are almost 11 o'clock.
Yep.
You guys have been great. James, thank you so much.
Thank
you all for hanging out with us.
And thank you everybody in the
Jeremy
audience,
and Mark,
Marie, Greg, and Jeremy, Mark, Sarah. Thank you for your comments. Liz Milne, who had joined us tonight. Thank you again, Angela. All sorts of people. You know you are. We love you. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys Saturday. I believe we have a near-death experience person coming on Saturday. NDE. We love NDE. It's a peek on the other side. Meredith Herrenberg will be joining us. And perhaps we'll do a little thought experiment, perhaps a guided meditation, a healing one, something positive for people.
Chris has been wanting to do this for a while.
I have been. And I think so many people right now, between COVID, between everything, life, I mean, just if you're not sick yourself, somebody, you're close to somebody who's sick, and there's just been, I'm almost terrified to open up social media anymore.
Yeah, every time we open up Facebook, it's like somebody else died. It's wicked sad.
Against those people, and my heart goes out to them, and we have our own issues, of course. And it just cannot be enough healing in the world right now. Yeah. So we may try an experiment with that on Saturday. Either way, we'll see you then. It's been Dark Horse Paranormal Podcast.
Thank you, James.
Good night.
Thank you guys. Have a good night, James.
Good night, everybody.
Hang on, I'm going to kill this, okay? There you go.